between the House versus the former Duke and Duchess in the presence of Will D and Unique Glow for negligence on their part of poorly labeling the disinfectant in water container. The accused, please step forward. Who is your defendant counsel? Step into the dock. The accuser, please. Your right hand, please. Repeat after me.
I, Will D,
promise to say the truth
promise to say the truth
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Interrogate him, please.
My Lord, with me today in court is my honorable colleague, Mr. Chidera, and my humble self. All right. And my humble self. Mr. Wildy, on the Saturday, you distributed disinfectant to the house. Please, can you tell the Honorable Court why you asked Mr. Sina to pour disinfectant into the container of water you know the whole house uses?
Thank you so much, Your Honor. I strongly believe we wouldn't be having this case if the disinfectant in question wasn't requested by the house in the first place. A couple of housemates complained of toilet infections here and there. So as a preventive measure, we agreed to request for the disinfectant to prevent further spread of such infection. So as the former Duke, I requested for the disinfectant and it was provided. Of course, I knew if I kept the disinfectant in a central place, some people would use more than others. I'm saying this from experience because we've had cases where we requested for drugs and kept the drugs in the first aid box and only just a few people, either one person.
Objection, my lord. My lord, if I may remember, he said, and I quote, some drugs were requested by some certain persons. If I can remember, Mr. Wildy, I requested for a drug and you have never returned to me with that particular drug. Instead, you gave it to some other person. I remember meeting you like 2 or 3 times to ask for a particular drug because of what I was feeling at that time. You said you dropped it in the first aid box. Now, I remember very well you told me yourself you handed it over to Mr. Sina. Now you are lying to this honorable court that you placed that drug in the first aid box. Number 1 offense, you lie. Number 2, my lord, it's very simple. The former Duchess, which is Unique Glow, said to me in particular, John Wells, you can't question authority. Good, I can't. Now, this is very simple. You said, she said, Unique Glow said, and I quote, in the royal, in the diary section, the royal enforcer asked her to share the disinfectant. And if I'm not mistaken, I have witnesses there. That's 1. Number 2, Mrs. Unique Glow, here in person, said to me, you are not to question my authority. And I kept quiet and I walked out. So I see no reasons why Mr. Wildy would tell me and this honorable court that he placed the said drugs that I and I think 2 other persons asked for in the first aid box. The drugs that we have in the first aid box is paracetamol and the likes of them. So you don't lie to the court. My Lord, if you may permit me, I will give a practical experiment. Is my permitted granted, my Lord?
Go ahead.
Thank you. My Lord, I have 3 cans. This is where we drink from. And this is the most common thing you see in the house. These are water. And this is a disinfectant. My Lord, please watch this experiment. Please help me. Please watch. Can we all see? My Lord, please, where's the difference in these 2 waters as we speak? This is a water. This is a disinfectant. There is no way me coming into my room saying this and I won't drink it. Anybody in the right senses or his or her right senses, and my room for that matter, get to see this, I will drink it because I know it's either me or my roommate that left it there. And for the fact that I have roommates, we share most of our things. Yes, that's one. Please, can I have the cover? My Lord, these are 2 waters as it stands. This is a disinfectant, and this is a bottled water. At the set time, Mrs. Lois went into her room quite late after taking a bath, I guess, or maybe she has slept. She opened this, turned it into her mouth. This is how she drinks water. Raised the container while drinking. Now she drank it. Because she noticed the hotness from this disinfectant, she immediately turned it out of her mouth. Her roommate, whom is Ellen, came to my room, called myself and Morgana, and asked us, did we come into the room with any other bottled water? I said, I came in with ice block and I left with it. Then she told us, Lois drank this. God so blessed, she turned it out of her mouth. If not because this was in Lois's room, my Lord, there is no way. She's not stupid, she's not dumb, she's not a baby to drink those 2 colors of what I showed, substance I showed you. Thank you. My Lord, Mr. Wildy is the head of ours. He can assign anybody to go on an errand for him. Me disobeying Mr. Wildy is like me disobeying General Mugato. Now, Mr. Wildy and Mrs. Uniglow sent in someone to pass around disinfectant at the set time where
Sent who, please?
thank you, my Lord. Sent in Mr. Donrazi to pass in disinfectant in every room. Mr. Donrazi is my roommate. The particular time Mr. Donrazi went into the room to drop the disinfectant, I wasn't there. I was in the room with Mrs. Helen, Mrs. V, Mrs. Joy, Mr. George Bube, and we were discussing. So, I don't see any reason why Mr. Wildy will stand in this honorable court and lie to us. And I see no reason.
That will be all.
Thank you.
Do you have witnesses, Mr. Wildy?
Yes, I
Who
do.
are your witnesses?
But, my Lord, can I say something before I call my witnesses?
Who are your witnesses?
Don Razi, and Mr. Finance.
Can you stand up, please? Okay, you may sit. You were about saying something.
Yes. So much, my lord. He said something earlier that I lied.
Excuse me. I
I, John Wells,
promise to say the truth
promise to say the truth
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Carry on, Mr. Wolf.
All right, thank you so much once again, Your Honor. Mr. John Wells said something earlier when I was speaking. He said I lied. The bone of contention here actually is the disinfectant. I cited an instance with requesting for some drugs that I kept in the first aid box, of which I never mentioned names. But he said he was the one that requested for the drugs. Did I mention anybody's name? I didn't. Like I said, the bone of contention is the disinfectant.
Objection, my lord.
Overrule.
All right, thank you so much, my lord. All right, so I was saying something earlier. The intention behind sharing the disinfectant was purely altruistic. I said earlier, I knew if I kept the disinfectant in a central place, some people would use more than others. I've been a duke in this house for 1 week plus, so I know exactly what I'm saying. We've had cases where someone will request for a drug today, would still have extra in the first aid box. Before you know it, the whole drug is finished. That was the cue I took. I got, to share the disinfectant equally. Now, as the former duke, I've had cases.
Please, can we have you interrogate him?
All right. Mr. Wells, you did a little demonstration here a while ago, but the question I would like to ask, when I'm done, I call in my witnesses. Was the disinfectant, the shared disinfectant, diluted?
Yes.
It wasn't. I have my witnesses. As a matter of fact, when you were demonstrating, we shared the disinfectants in according to the number of rooms, and the disinfectants were as low as this quantity. So I wonder how the whole thing got diluted in the first place, that someone had to ingest it. I'm trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. No one is a child here. I instructed Don Razi to take the disinfectant round. I remember vividly when I gave the instruction, I went in to ease myself. He knocked. I was in the room, he opened the door, and he was the one that told me, this is the disinfectant for your room. I took the disinfectant straight to the toilet. Don't forget what I said earlier. I said it was as a result of the complaints we kept on having, people complaining of toilet infections here and there. So if people didn't complain of toilet infection, we wouldn't even...
Mr. Will, that'll be all right for now.
Thank you, my lord.
Do you have a witness for it?
Yes, I do.
My lord, I would like to ask Mr. Widi some questions.
That will not be done into the dock, please. Hold on. Step out of the dock. Please, who are the witnesses for Mr. Wildy? Step forward. I learned you have 2 defendant counsel, right?
Yes.
Mr. John Wells.
Yes.
So are you still going to continue with the interrogations, or he comes forward?
As it stands, I'm going to interrogate them 1 question each. Then my learned colleague will do the rest.
Good.
Please, I would like Mr. Wildy to go into the dock.
That'll be Mr. Donrazi, step into the dock, please. Your right hand and repeat after me. I
I, Donazi,
promise to say the truth
promise to say the truth
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Mr. John Wealth, carry on, please.
Mr. Dorazi, I have just one question for you. You said, and I quote in your words, you took in disinfectant into every room. Yes or no?
Yes.
You said that you gave someone disinfectant in the room where Miss Lois, Miss Helen, and Miss V stays. Yes or no?
Yes.
Please tell me who was the person you gave the disinfectant to.
I gave it to Helen. I think.
You gave it to Helen, you think. Are you thinking in this honorable court, or you are telling us that you gave it to Helen?
I gave it to Helen.
You gave it to Helen.
That'll be all.
Thank you.
The next witness, please. Step out of this.
Mr. Finest,
Yes.
I believe you're with a substance called disinfectant. Please, can you show the court? Thank you very much. Please, just hold it like that. Mr. Wildy, can you hold it very well? Thank you. Mr. Wildy said the disinfectant was very little. Please, what I brought into the court and this, please, is there any difference? Yes or no?
Can I?
Yes or no?
There's no difference.
Thank you very much. I need the word yes or no. Yes or no?
Your question
Mr.
again.
Finest.
Your question again.
Mr. Finest.
Yes.
Can you show the court? The disinfectant that I brought into the court to experiment, was there any difference from what you are holding? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Finest, were you in apartment A when Mr. Donrazi distributed the infection? Yes. Yeah, disinfectant, thank you. Were you in apartment A? Yes or no?
My lord, he said one question
Yes
from him.
or no?
Objection. Yes or no?
Your question again.
Yes or no?
Your question again.
Mr. Finest,
Yes.
were you in apartment A when Mr. Donrazi brought in the disinfectant? Yes or no?
My lord.
Yes or no?
Excuse me.
My lord, with this viewpoint of mine,
My lord.
I believe
Ex-
no stands
ex-
for
My lord.
silence.
My lord.
Excuse me. The question is a yes or no question. If you do not have an answer to the question, please step out for the next witness, please.
My lord, sorry.
If you do not have an answer, a specific answer to that question, step out for another witness, please.
No.
Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to call on my
Wait, hold on.
Mr. Withy, Mr. Withy, as a leader, to pass an information in a house where there is over 20 people, to pass a proper information in a house where there is over 20 people, please, can you tell me how you did?
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Thank you so much for your question. Any information I intend to pass, it depends on how the information came, when the information came.
Okay. Disinfectant was given to you because sick people complained of toilet infections and all that. In this house, none of us stay in a room and use a single toilet. So the disinfectant is meant for the house at large. When you got the disinfectant from the General Mugato, and it is called disinfectant, a very harmful product. Was there a need? I'm asking a question. Was there a need to call all the housemates, mates, or even if you did not call, you go to the room by room and tell them, disinfectant is available for those that need it. Was there a need?
Sending someone.
Yes or no, please.
Yes.
There was a need. Why did you not do that? Why did you not do that? Then, why did you share the disinfectant in a bottle of a bottle water, that sewer bottle water, that we all know that there is this thing in the house whereby I will drink this bottle water and keep. Maybe I will forget it, and the other person will forget his own. In order not to waste it, it's very costly now. In order not to waste it, we merge the two to be one. at least the empty bottle, the one of them will be empty. We discard one empty bottle. Then why now sharing it in a bottle water, where then some people might not have that time to look at what they have in hand, whether it's disinfectant or whatever. Why sharing it without informing the house?
Can I say
Make it
something
brief,
now?
sir.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. You asked the question earlier, was there a need to inform all the rooms that there was disinfectant available?
You had already given an answer to that.
Yes.
Move to the next question, please.
All right. Please, can you ask your question again?
I said, why did you share the
All right, I get your question. It was the only thing available to take, the only container available that can accommodate the number of rooms we have. It was the most available container,
And did you
hence
think-
using the container.
Did you think is a very good idea? Because on a certain day, I was in the kitchen with the Unique Glow, Finance, and Mr. Donrazi. So, Unique Glow made mention of sharing the disinfectant. I was like, we all are adults. Why then sharing disinfectant? I got scared of this particular bottle because I have had cases of even being in the same bottle, someone will mistakenly or carelessly take it. And I suggested that it should not be shared. Your answer was, some certain persons might overuse it and the other person will not overuse it. That's an insult. We all are adults. Let it be some certain person overuse it, we find our petition or we find a way to treat it. Because this thing, for crying out loud, is disinfectant. It's very dangerous to our health. And some certain persons, at that moment, you brought the team, some people were in the various rooms doing what they know how to do the best. Some people were sleeping, some people, in short, most of the house were sleeping, just a few of them were awake. So, you set someone to go and distribute it, you knock on the person's room, you see the person sleeping. You might not like to disturb the person sleeping. I will go straight into the bathroom. He goes straight into the bathroom as he claimed and dropped it without any information. Okay, he said the other person was taking bath, blah, blah, blah. So he dropped it where, on the cupboard. Okay, the person that drank the disinfectant got the disinfectant from the exact place she and her roommates keep their bottled water they use in the room.
Objection, my lord.
So, why
Objection,
then? Why my question?
Go ahead.
Enough.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. You mentioned something earlier. You said most of the people, as at the time the disinfectant was distributed, were sleeping. How did you know?
Mr. Wilde, I know very much you.
How
you
did
know
you
that
know?
I was.
How did you know? How did
Okay,
you know? How did you know? Wait, did you go around all the rooms? Because you said almost everybody was sleeping. How did you know?
Okay, how I got to know, when the disinfectant or the said person drank the disinfectant, some person said they don't know when the how the disinfectant got to their room. And the said person that distributed it said he knocked at the door. Some people were sleeping. Oh, this one was in the bathroom, and this one. And in particular house B, where I stay, is only me and Finance was awake in said time. Coming out from my room, we are three. I wake up, seen others. I met others sleeping. I wanted to enter Venipe room. When I knocked, I opened the door. Everybody was sleeping. Vanipi turned. Yes, I said hello, and I went down. So I now believe that's the reason why I believe and things I hear that most of them are sleeping and most were in their particular room at that moment.
Excuse me, Mr. Chidera, do you have a fact and a witness to ascertain that as at that time
Yes.
there were people sleeping in their various room and house?
Yes.
Your
Where
Honor,
are your witnesses?
Your Honor, Your Honor, please can I say something? He
Hold
ma-
on. Objection. Objection.
I would like Mr. Finance to step in the dock.
Where is the witness?
Okay.
Your witnesses.
One witness.
Let
and
him speak.
Okay.
My Lord, on that set day, I, Miss Helen, Miss V, Miss Joy, Mr. Dara were all asleep. And I'll put it to Mr. Donrazi here that he lied to the court that he gave Mrs. Helen the disinfectant because Mrs. Helen was asleep in our room. And Mr. Dara, Mr. Josbube, Mrs. Joy, Mrs. V were asleep in the other room. Even when it was, I asked him, when we were arguing about it, I asked him, Don Razi, did you bring disinfectant to our room? He said, yes, it's in the restroom. Mr. Wildy here came to my room. And I guess he met Helen. Because Helen told me, he spoke to me, and I sleep talk back at him. Later that day or the next day, I went to meet him and I told him, sorry, I was sleeping and talking to you.
Go ahead.
I was sleeping and talking to you. I didn't know that you were in my room. So I put it to Mr. Wildy and Mr. Donrazi that we were asleep because he came in and saw me sleeping. And any other person that came into the room that day saw me sleeping because I slept for long. For the very first time since I came into the royal house, that was the first day I slept for that long.
Your Honor,
That's okay.
That's enough.
Your Honor,
Who are the witnesses for the house? Can you stand up, please? Step forward. Mr. Donrazi and Finance, please step back.
yes, we have
My
the
Lord,
right to fair
this
hearing.
is contempt of court. My
Order
Lord,
in court.
I think
Order in
there
court.
should be given strike for giving contempt of
Order in court, please. Step forward. Step out of the door, please. Who are you interrogating first, Mr. Wildy?
I'm interrogating Mr. Wealth. Then I'm starting with Mr. Dara before Mr. Wealth.
Good. So Mr. Dara will step into the dock. Carry on, Mr. Wildy.
All right, thank you so much. You made 3 statements that were completely divergent. 2 came from you and 1 from your colleague. I remember you said something. You said, as at the time the disinfectant was distributed in the kitchen, you were there. You said you were there. As a matter of fact, you suggested that the disinfectant be kept in a central place.
Yes.
That's one. The second thing you said was majority of the people as at that time were sleeping. That's the second thing, right? You said majority of the people were sleeping.
Yes.
So how were you? The third thing came from your colleague. He said, as at that time, you people were together sleeping.
No, he
Wait.
misplaced my name.
Ex-
to
Hear me out.
upstairs.
Just hear me
Excuse
out.
me, excuse me.
He said you people were sleeping. He mentioned your name. How were you in the kitchen? How were you able to hear everybody, to know that everybody was almost sleeping at that time? And how would you come about the statement that you were sleeping, you were in the kitchen, and you knew everybody was sleeping as well?
Okay, I should answer, right? Coming to I was sleeping that comes from my learned colleague Wealth. Wealth misused name Dera to just Bube because and he corrected it in the next sentence where he said Dera no just Bube was sleeping because I don't sleep here because I don't and my room is not here and I hardly be in apartment A because I don't have anything doing here. So me being here in apartment A might be like come to find someone and I do my thing and leave. I don't sleep here because I don't live here. Period. Then you said me being in the kitchen. Me being in the kitchen is a very naked truth because I was in the kitchen where some certain persons stepped in. I was in the kitchen talking with Unique Glow. Then said Duchess, we are discussing something.
My honor, he's digressing. The question was very straightforward.
Okay, let me get the question.
How would you reconcile being in the kitchen and at the same time knowing that virtually everybody was sleeping? Because I remember in one of your statements, you said some people said you weren't there. You contradicted your statement.
Okay.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. You said some people said the rest of the people were almost sleeping. But you gave us the impression that you were the one who went around to know that virtually everybody was sleeping. So you contradicted yourself. So how would you
Miss
reconcile?
Welby, ask
I
me
am
a
not done
question.
yet.
I can't answer the good
Excuse
question.
me, excuse me.
Ask
Are
me
you,
a question.
excuse me, are you done with your questions?
How would you reconcile being in the kitchen?
That should be one.
That's
Let me
one.
let me answer that. How would I reconcile? How do you put
How
it?
would you reconcile being in the kitchen and saying some people, you said some people said, so the rest of the people were almost sleeping, and saying at the same time that people were sleeping. So how would you reconcile the three statements?
I think when I said some people said, I made it clear. Everybody heard me right. I think I speak a pretty good English, even though I'm not perfect on it. I suggested that the disinfectant should not be shared. One. Then the next day, when the certain issue came up, some people said they don't know, they did not know that some certain thing came to their room.
Excuse me. The question is, how would you reconcile your staying in the kitchen when he was there, and how would you reconcile that with knowing when at the time all the housemates were asleep?
Yes, my lord. I said it was next day when the complaint.
Excuse me. The question is direct.
Yes, and I'm asking.
Excuse me.
Okay.
The question is direct, and I plead with you that the answer to this question should be a direct answer.
Yes.
So
I'm giving a direct answer.
excuse me. So, Mr. Weldy, I want you to put the question back to him again.
I still ask the same question. How would you reconcile being in the kitchen and knowing exactly that almost everybody was sleeping at the same time?
That's one.
Okay, that's one. I said earlier that when I wake up, we are four in our room. Four of us were sleeping. I left the room. I entered VNP room. I saw them sleeping. I knocked. Nobody said anything. I opened the door. I saw them sleep. I now came down to the kitchen. I was with.
Excuse me, Mr. I plead with you, Mr. Wildy, to break down your tenses. so he will get the actual meaning of your statement, please.
All right. At this point, since we are not having a reasonable understanding, I plead that the witnesses speak for themselves. I think they can explain better. Virtually, the two of them really have something to say.
Excuse me, I only asked you to change the tenses of the particular question you asked him, which is not a deal.
All right, all
Please.
right. He mentioned 3 statements that were completely different.
Mm-hmm.
2 came from him, 1 from the other, from his colleague. The first thing he said was he was in the kitchen as at the time the disinfectant was distributed. Then he suggested that the disinfectant be kept in a central place. The second thing he said was virtually everybody was sleeping as at the time the disinfectant was distributed. The third thing that came from his colleague was he mentioned his name and a couple of other people were sleeping as at the time the disinfectant was distributed. So I want to know, please, can you marry the 3 of them being in the kitchen, 1, and knowing how almost everybody was sleeping as at that time, 2, then you and him and a couple of other people were sleeping at that time as at the time the disinfectant was distributed.
Is it clear now?
It's clear. And I'm still saying the same thing, Mr. Withy. If most of us are not sleeping, then we normally come together and play certain games. That's a thing with the boat house. But the house I came from, 90% of the house I came from, we are sleeping, and that made me to say the detergent, the disinfectant should be kept at Tasha's care. Normal the way she keeps the spark. They said no. That some certain persons will use blah, 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 blah. So your second question, the next day this issue came up. I was like, Grace Child, I don't understand. How can you drink? Don't you know that disinfectant was given to you? I asked Miss Lois the same thing. Miss Lois said no.
My lord.
Then how get the disinfectant to their room? If they were awake, then how get the disinfectant to their room without their notice? Because I'm very much aware that if I'm awake and you keep something in my room, if someone come and ask me, I will ascertain to the stuff that is more that came to my room and dropped it. Then how did they not know that certain things was distributed if they were not asleep? And how John Welch, Mr. Welch, did not know that, or how Mr. Welch said that he was sleeping when someone knocked.
Mr. Dara, excuse me, do you have a witness of fact for this?
Yes, I have my witness.
Where are they?
Welch is my witness in apartment A.
That will be enough. Step out of the dock, please.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. The rest of the explanation should come from the witnesses.
My Lord, he's trying to put Durex on my colleague, knowing fully well that my colleague stammers and cannot express himself in English very well. Number two, my Lord, he asked a question. My Lord, I corrected myself immediately after using Mr. Dera's name to Just Bube. Just Bube is my roommate. And at that set time, he was in Lois's, Helen, and V's room, while Helen was in my room and I was in my room. My Lord, I would love you to ask Mr. Wildy here if he came into my room to ask me a question or to talk to me, yes or no, please.
No.
All right. He came into my room and spoke to me, but because of I was asleep, I didn't even know he came into my room. And I said to the house when I got down that particular day, since I came to the royal house, that was the longest sleep I have ever had. And I have witnesses that heard me say that. So he shouldn't rely on what my mistake is, because I am prone to mistake. I am not a dictionary. I am not someone who doesn't make mistake. Nobody is above mistake. I am very aware that, my Lord, you are aware of that.
That's
Some-
it. That's enough.
Thank you.
Step out of the door. Next witness is from the house. Miss Lois, please, your right hand. Repeat after me. I
Hi, Lois.
promise to say the truth
Promise to say the truth,
and nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Mr. John Wells, carry on.
Miss Lois,
Please, just two questions.
two questions.
And
Thank
be
you.
straightforward.
Two questions each, right?
And be very straightforward
All
and
right.
precise.
Miss Lois, did you see Mr. Donrazi bring in disinfectant into your room? Yes or no?
No.
Miss Lois, at what time did you drink the water? Please tell the honorable court.
At night, when
At
I want to
night.
go to bed.
When you wanted to go to bed,
Yes, please.
was this the quantity of water you drank? Yes or no?
Yes, please.
Thank you, my lord. I'm done with her.
Please step out. Next.
The next witness, please.
Mr. Duru, you can have your seat. Mr. Welt, you can have your seat.
I have a question for.
Okay. Please have your seat. Please do the needful.
Mr. Sina, repeat after me. I promise to say the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Mr. John Wealth, please. Two
Proceed.
questions. Be
All right,
direct.
thank you. Mr. Sina, were you given instruction to turn in disinfectant into this ragolis? Yes or no? Mr. Sina,
Okay. Repeat after me. I
I, sinner,
promise to say the truth
promise to say the truth
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the
So
truth.
help me God.
So help me God.
Carry on, Mr. John Wealth.
Mr. Sina, were you given an instruction by the Duke, the former Duke, and the Duchess to turn in disinfectant into this ragolis? Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Sina, when you were given this instruction, please, who was in the kitchen with you?
Mr. Dara was in the kitchen.
Mr. Dera was in the kitchen.
Yes, Mr. Finest was in the kitchen. Duru, Don Raj was in the kitchen.
Was this the quantity given to you? Yes or no?
No.
Thank you.
Step up, please. You can all have your seat.
Thank you, my lord.
Okay. Okay, where are your witnesses? Please step out, please. Step in.
Fine, step into the talk. Carry on, Mr. Rodi.
All right.
Please, just two questions.
I have just one question for him.
Beautiful.
Mr. Finest, as at the time this was distributed, were you the one that collected this disinfectant in your room?
Yes, I collect on behalf of my room.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Step out of the dock. The next witness, Mr. Donrazi.
Mr. Razi,
Yes.
did you see anyone when you were distributing the disinfectant? When you knocked on all the doors, was there anyone, did you see anybody in all the rooms that you were able to hand over the disinfectant to?
Yes.
Thank you so much, my lord.
That'll be all.
Yes.
Step out of the dock, Mr. Donrazi. Order in court, please.
That'll be all.
That will be all. You may all step back to your seat.
Obje-
Order in court.
objection, please. Mr. Weldy and Mrs. Duchess, I would like you to stand. You're guilty of the the accusation leveled against you, and you're hereby charged for one, an official distribution of the disinfectant in the house, and a process that led to an attempted murder of the few housemates as a result of negligence and carelessness of the Duke and the Duchess. If there was supposed to be a distribution of the said disinfectant, would it not be the Duchess or the Duke? Because the same way it should be distributed unofficial would have been the same official way it would have been given to every single person at a time. So I hereby say you're guilty of the accusation leveled against you, and you lost the case. But on behalf of me and the Honorable Court, it's just a strike, a one strike each for both of you. And the two strikes leveled against the General House by this reason has been revoked. Thank you.
Courts, arise.
This is
Shout.